producer, and one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. And we need a star to interview a superstar, and we've got one of those too. Please welcome best-selling author and host of the podcast On Purpose, Jay Shetty, in an exclusive fireside chat with the star of Bad Boys, Men in Black, Independence Day, King Richard, Academy Award winner, multiple Grammy Award winner, BAFTA, Golden Globes, the man in the pursuit of happiness. He is legend, the one, the only, the Fresh Prince himself, Will Smith!
Yeah. I'll get a selfie. There we go. There we are. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. My ears are blocking people.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Give it up for Will Smith, everyone!
Yeah.
Make some noise!
Jay Shetty, ladies and gentlemen.
Make some noise. Will.
I am never going to live up to that introduction.
Will, it is such a joy to be with you here, and everyone who's turned up, thank you so much for turning up for this interview. And Will, I want to dive right in. We've got a little bit of time, and you have so much incredible insight. I just want to say one thing, everyone. I met Will for the first time 6-7 years ago, and we became great friends. And I can honestly say that this man is even better offline than he is online. He's one of the most special human beings I've met, and I just want everyone to know that. And as we dive into that, Will, I want to get into all the insights and wisdom you have. But before we do that, this is your first time in Qatar.
Yes,
what does it feel like?
First time. I love it here. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. It's really beautiful and peaceful, and you know you can feel the energy of the future about to happen. You know, and as an artist, that is extremely exciting to me to be in a place that's bubbling, you know, with anticipation of, you know, creating a future, you know, and, you know, I salute all of you here in that energy and in that space of creating not just the tomorrow for Qatar and the Middle East, the future of our planet. So I salute all of you.
Absolutely, well said. I feel like, Will, you're probably the only person who's even ever tried to do this, let alone succeeded. But you went from a career in music to a career in TV to dominating films. You've dominated music, TV, film. Like, I don't even know people who've tried, let alone succeeded. Yeah. You mastered them, dominated for decades. But what I find most fascinating is it's really hard when you're transitioning.
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience today who realize they might need to become storytellers.
Yes.
They realize they might need to launch a podcast. They realize they might need to understand AI. There's all these transitions. And I wanted to ask you, how did you manage, because I think it's the most underestimated part of your journey, how did you manage to shift between three of the biggest mediums on planet Earth and do it so seamlessly and successfully?
Yeah, you know, I think there are a couple of really important things. And I guess the first thing I would say is you'll never be rid of fear. Don't try to not be scared. It's terrifying to start a business, to leave a job, to start something else. You'll never be rid of fear, right? So the relationship with learning how to relax into fear and lean into the unknown, and to not need it to be perfect, not need to understand it, not need to have a sense of a 5-year and a 10-year plan. You couldn't possibly know what's going to happen, right? So the courage to lean into the unknown and to be scared and do it anyway is a really huge part of transitioning. And I think the second part of that for me was always going from music to television, and I had had success in music, and the big thing is throw it away. Like, humble down and go back to beginner's mind. First time you're learning something new, be a child, asking all of the questions, and that child mind of starting something new versus, you know, if I had been trying to carry my success as a rapper into television, that would have been really bad, because very little rap information is necessary to be a TV star. So, you know, the humbling of myself in those transition points was a really important part of being able to learn and grow and accept that I don't know and be okay that I don't know. And the worst thing you can do is pretend like you know when you don't know. It is much better to accept not knowing and lean into not knowing.
I love that. Round of applause, everyone. I love that answer, because I think we're often told the opposite. I think a lot of people are like, fake it till you make it, pretend like you know what's going on. And that's refreshing advice, to just say, hey, actually, if I take that ego with me, it's just going to block everything.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to ask you, you've been successful at so many things. I want to know what your definition, you've talked about redefining success. What was your definition of success when you started?
Yeah.
And then what's your definition of success evolved to today?
Well, my original definition of success was women liking me.
How many of you can relate? Raise your hands.
Women like me.
Raise your hands, yeah. We can all relate. Yes, if you're not putting up your hands, you're lying. Yeah. We can all relate.
If women like me, I was like, I won, I'm successful. No, I wanted to be number one. And the most important thing to me when I was doing something is I wanted to be number one. Whatever the number one spot was in what I was doing, I wanted that to be me. And I was willing to suffer whatever I had to suffer to win. And as I started to rack up wins, and you know, what's been a big part of our relationship, and when Jay and I met, I got to that point where I had learned how to win, but it was insatiable. So, you know, part of what, you know, Jay and I and our friendship is finding the deeper part of what was most important to my heart. And what I discovered is there's nothing above seeing something you've created, seeing something you've done help another person. When you see your gifts land, you know, with others versus doing something, and you know, I'm so happy to have never been in this position where there's the way for me to win is by hurting others, right? And it's like, that would be a terrible way to have to use the artistry. But you know, a film like Pursuit of Happiness, there's nothing above when someone walks up to me on the street, thank you. When somebody walks up on the street and says, hey, I was really close to the end and I saw Pursuit of Happiness and it really helped me to keep going. So thank you for that. So the attention on how what you do serves others is a huge fuel, and for me, it's the only thing that keeps me going and pushing, is to be able to create things that touch the hearts and minds of people and provide some assistance in the difficulty of making sense out of this life.
That's beautiful. Round of applause, everyone. Yeah, go for it. Come on. Absolutely. It's so interesting, isn't it? Because you can become successful but it doesn't mean you'll be fulfilled.
Yes, absolutely.
And that service element you're talking about is the difference between being successful and fulfilled, as opposed to being one or the other. How do entrepreneurs create that mindset? Because I feel like when you're starting out, it's natural to just be like, we just got to make it. Like, we just got to survive. We want to be number one. We want to do well. How do we balance, or how do you create a narrative internally that allows you to be successful but also be of service and recognize that they can go together, rather than think, oh, when I become successful, then I'll do that? Like, you chose movies early in your career that have continued to have that positive impact. Pursuit of Happiness being one of them, that gave people this aspiration and this energy and this inspiration. How do we do that when we're starting out, not just at the end?
You know, it's really a difficult balance. I had someone ask me before about work-life balance. How do you have a work-life balance? And to me, work-life balance is impossible if you don't align your values, right? So a work-life balance is about not having one set of values at work. Kill or be killed. You smash the competition, you do all of that. And then when you come home and you're playing games with the family, you know, you try to smash your kids in the card game, you know, because it's like, you know, that mentality. So it's about having a set of values that move between both places. That you know, for me, I learned that it has to be about people. If it's not about people, it's unsustainable, you know. And you know, I had that space for a while where I was pushing and jamming so hard that I lost my attention on the people that I was working with. I lost a little bit of my attention on the fact that, you know, people have families and people have lives and people have difficulties. And one of the major things is the realization that everybody's having a hard time, right? So, you know, take a moment and tune in to everybody around you, right? Now, somebody is going through a divorce. Somebody just lost a loved one. Somebody just got a diagnosis. Everybody around you, everybody in this room is going through something. And in building a business, we can't lose touch of the fact that life is hard for each of us, and the reason we're making the business has to be to make life better for all of us, right? So when we tune into each other in that way and recognize, for those that are running companies, the CEO of my company does a great thing. He's backstage. He does a great thing at the beginning of every meeting. He says, "Okay, no one has to say what it is, but I know everybody's going through things, so we're going to do green, red, and yellow for your emotions." And everybody just say green, yellow, or red, and he goes around the room, and there's always a red, right? And you know, when somebody says they're red to start the meeting, you know, that's probably not the time to correct them on something they did wrong yesterday, right? And the green, yellow, red is such, and no one goes into what it is, but it's such a beautiful way to tune into each other at the beginning of the meeting, and then you just change your tone. If somebody's green, you know you can go a little harder. If somebody says they're red, just leave them alone today. But it's a really great thing to keep the mind on the fact that people are going to make the business successful or not. It's like the greatest idea in the world isn't going to go by itself. It's going to go based on the quality of the team and the relationships and interactions with the people. So we can't lose attention on the people that we're creating with.
Absolutely, I love that example, I love it. How many of you are gonna try that this week with your teams? Raise your hand.
You know,
Raise your hand. It's
green,
great.
yellow, red is fantastic. It works at home too. You know, you sit down at dinner, you know, and you do the green, yellow, red, it is fantastic. And you don't even have to know exactly what it is, but it just helps you tune in. It's beautiful.
Yeah, try it out this week, try it out at the dinner table, try it out at work. It's so interesting because at the core, we think humans are looking for love, but a step before love is just safety.
Yes.
I just need to feel safe.
Yeah.
And then I have the opportunity to love on a deep level. And what you're saying is, when you do that green, yellow, red, there's a safety created.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel safe now because you know, you're aware of how I feel emotionally, and now I'm aware that you know, now we feel safe. Now where can we go from here?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that that's a beautiful way of creating safety. I love that. A lot of entrepreneurs in the room, they want to be able to tell better stories.
Yes.
Today, we're living at a time where every company has to be a media company.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether you're tech, health, whatever you are, you've got to be a media company. There has to be a content arm of your company.
Absolutely.
And so as companies are thinking about how do we tell better stories, coming from one of the most prolific storytellers that's ever lived, what advice would you give to people about storytelling for their business? Because that's what you've done. You've also branched out of Hollywood, out of movies, into businesses and built brands. What's different about storytelling for a brand?
So the origin story always tends to be super powerful. The why is everything. So my son, when he was 11 years old, we were in Hawaii and he started surfing. And there's this really great old-time surfer named Titus Kenimaka. And Titus took my son and they went in the ocean, and he was telling my son how to make friends with the ocean. And he was calling the ocean she. And he says, some days she's not great for surfing. You have to understand her mood, and you have to be able to read it, and you have to be able to be in sync. And when you surf a wave, you know, and so he's going through it, and my son gets this really mystical picture of the ocean. And then we went back to the house, and he saw a thing that there were plastic bottles, and there was an island of plastic bottles in the middle of the ocean. And he had such a deep visceral reaction that this beautiful she he was just learning about was getting poisoned. So he researched and he started a renewable water company, renewable water bottles, paper water bottles with tops made out of sugarcane. And he started this company, he was 12 years old, he started this company, and the story was so beautiful for people. He was learning how to go to investors, and the story was so beautiful for people that a little kid was loving the ocean and learning about the ocean, and he saw that the ocean was being poisoned, and he wanted to do something. It was like everybody said yes. Everybody that he went to said yes based on the story, right? And for your company, what you're doing is really important, but why you're doing it is what makes people give money more quickly, right? Why?
Yeah, it's so true. That origin story is
everything.
Yeah, it's a great reminder, because I think sometimes we get carried away. We're like, oh, I need to jump onto this trend, or I need to keep up with what's going on. It's like that original story. If you can find a way to communicate that
Yes.
in a way that digests and lands for people,
Yes.
that's beautiful.
And you have to always tell it. You have to tell it over and over and over and over. Every single post, you never stop telling the story, and the story will evolve and new things will happen, but it is every single day, over and over and over, you hammer the idea of the story and the why for people to catch on. It's not a one-time telling of your story. And I heard a great quote: the decks equal checks, right? Like that idea that you like a good, solid, clear deck that lays out the storytelling and lays out what you're doing. Creating a clear delivery of the narrative is super critical.
Yeah, love that. Great advice. And Will, I think everyone, when I was telling them that we were going to do this, a lot of people, I was like, what question would you like? And a lot of people had this question, and it was, here's someone who's achieved so much, had so many successes, continues to have that across platforms, even on social media and digital platforms. Back into music now, seeing that, amazing collaborations. I love the Neo Matrix collaboration with Big Sean. It was amazing to watch. So many incredible things. What keeps you going, and why do you keep going?
Oh, that's interesting. You know, I love it. And I think that's a really important part of it too. You know, you have to love it because you're going to be doing it for 19 hours a day for 3 years, you know, just to get it started, you know. So it's like, I think it's really important that you love what you do. A great idea that you hate doing, you're gonna lose the energy, you're gonna lose the zeal. You have to love it. And I would say another aspect is get comfortable with things dying. Get comfortable dying. It goes, businesses, relationships, they're going to go through phases, right? So you're going to start and you're going to get to a point where all is lost. If you're not dead, you're not dead, right? And it's like, it will feel like it's over a lot. Just don't stop, right? And it's like the winter comes and you can't raise anything and it doesn't seem like it's working, and then the spark of the spring comes and it will blossom and it will collapse. It's always going to build and collapse and build and collapse, and it's just going to get bigger every time it collapses. What it demands is that you get comfortable with the death of the previous phase. Let it die. It's over, but you learn some new things, and you know you'll have to downsize to 80% down, but now you've got a rock solid 20% that you're going to build on the next time. But the absolute comfort with what feels like tragic loss, and to be able to stay calm and stay centered in the middle of that and trust yourself that you did it before and you'll do it again. My experience has been, you don't succeed to the top, you fail to the top. You fail, boom, you get it, you know.
Wow. I want everyone to write those two things down. 19 hours a day for 3 years just to get it started, right? Write that down. And the second thing, a good idea that you hate doing isn't gonna work. I think so many of us get addicted to, I've got a really good idea. And I think we've all come up with amazing ideas, but if you don't love the execution of it, that is great advice. Will, we've got a couple of moments left. I want to ask you two more things. The first is, you just spoke about it, we fail to success. What does failure teach you that success can't? And what does success teach you that failure can't?
So I would say what failure teaches, and it's not just the failure, it's the failure and the recovery that's important. That once you recover, you realize that just because you had a down moment doesn't mean you failed, right? It was the tide comes in and the tide goes out. Failing is not death. And something declining, something breaking, something going wrong is a way that you learn how what you're trying to do works. One of the big things that failure taught me is timing. That something may have worked 6 months ago that is not going to work today. And having that failure and then the recovery, like, ooh, got it, I learned, okay, just because something worked before doesn't mean it's going to work again, and I have to be nimble and I have to be attentive to the current of what's happening, not committed to a single idea.
I love that. All right, last thing, Will, I'm going to ask you, you played iconic roles, iconic movies. I'm going to name some of the top ones of yours, and I want you to say one word to describe it.
One word.
One word.
Yes.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
I guess it's more than one word.
Go on then.
The best job ever.
Pursuit of Happiness.
The individual best movie I've ever made. Yeah.
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend. The greatest lesson in my mind I've ever had.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to let you expand on. Now I want to know more.
Yeah. Having to make a scene with no other humans made me recognize the madness of my own mind, and it was the first time I noticed the constant chatter of my mind. It was on I Am Legend was the first time I noticed the inner roommate.
Wow. Mike Lowry.
Mike Lowry. That's the sexiest dude. I so wish I was Mike Lowry.
King Richard.
King Richard. The greatest acting lesson I've ever received.
And last but not least, Will Smith.
Will Smith. A beautiful work in progress.
Will Smith, everyone! Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you. Jay Shetty, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all. Thank you.